Can you hear us, Kevin?
What I'll do is I'll call him. I'll call Kevin and have him on the cell phone. That will work.
Are your speakers up? Just out of curiosity, I'm just trying to think of low-hanging fruit here.
Hello.
Yep, I can't hear Sam at all.
That's so
Okay.
bizarre.
Can you hear anyone else?
I can hear you now on his phone. That's it.
Oh, can you hear me? No?
Only through Hans's mic.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll get this meeting rolling. I'm calling the meeting to order. I have to read the language now. So this meeting is recorded and broadcast on the Town of Barnstable's Government Access Channel in accordance with Massachusetts General Laws, Chapters 38, Section 20. The chair, me, must inquire whether anyone else is recording this meeting, and if so, please make their presence known. So is anyone else recording? All right, this meeting will be replayed via Xfinity Channel 8 on High Definition Channel 1072. It may also be accessed via the Government Access Channel live video on demand archives on the Town of Barnstable's website, which is https://streaming85.townofbarnstable.us/cablecast public site/?channel=1. That for anyone who wants to see it. In case I mess up, All right. Well, we will get rolling on the meeting. Welcome, Amy. So the first step up is the approval of the agenda. Does anyone have anything they want to add to the agenda?
No, I have nothing to change or add.
All right, great. Not hearing anything for anyone else. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda
All right.
from our last meeting.
All right, perfect. I'll second that. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Great. Next up, approval of minutes from the last meeting.
Oh, okay. I motion to accept. I have no changes.
I'll second.
Okay. Awesome. All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. All right, Kevin, operations report. And just for update for Amy, Kevin's having issues hearing all of us, so it's going via Hans's phone right now. So yeah, you're up, Kevin.
All right. Sorry about this, guys. I will start on Wednesday, August 7th. Activated Carbon Company, alongside a Veolia staff member, John Roberts. We're at the Mayor Treatment Plant to perform an exchange on Mayor Carbon Vessel 3 lead. John has really stepped up with the vacancy of Davian in July and is now our go-to exchange person. He works well with Activated Carbon Company's driver, Lloyd. The exchange went very well. They wrapped it up in about 4 hours, and the vessel was then filled with finished water and sampled twice, as always, to ensure water quality before placing it back into service. Thursday, the 11th, Veolia staff members met with the Town of Barnstable Harbor Master about a leak on his service line to the Harbor Master's building, and it feeds the docks. The leak is after the meter, and the town will be responsible for the water leakage until the leak is located and repaired. The Harbor Master was calling a leak locator detector to help locate that leak. Wednesday, the 14th. Veolia staff and the emergency services contractor, Bortolotti Construction, were on location at 15 Barnstable Road to investigate and repair a leak that was located by our leak detection contractor, Prowler Water Conservation. The leak was suspected to have been on an old and properly abandoned service that went to an unknown location. The leak was located on an old steel service. The valve was then located and turned off, and a proper cut and cap to the town specifications was completed. And that inadvertently had stopped the leak. The 21st was a Wednesday. Veolia staff alongside Mayor Well Services were on site at Hyannisport Treatment Plant toward the very end of July. The operators completing rounds at the plant noticed a very loud noise coming from Hyannisport Well and immediately reported it to Chris, the assistant project manager, and myself. We had Mayor Services in to replace the pump, and the motor was also replaced at that time. With this being a very important asset to us during the summer season, the decision was made to just replace everything to be able to keep up with demand during the busy season. After the well pump was replaced, the well was sampled twice to ensure there were no bacteria issues were present, and the well was put back online. Thursday, the 22nd, we were called out to investigate a leak located at 153 Bacon Road. It was discovered after a short investigation that the leak was between the curb stop and the homeowner's house. That being the case, the homeowner called an approved contractor off of the town's list, and they were scheduled to make repairs the next day. August 23rd, Veolia staff, including myself, were on site at the Cape Cod 5 Bank to investigate a report of water bubbling up in the middle of the parking lot. After about an hour of investigation and the use of all the tricks in our bag, it was determined that the leak was on the irrigation line and was running along an old metal casing that made it very hard to diagnose. The bank had a contractor on site that evening to make repairs. Also, in addition to the water leak, a homeowner at 246 Fifth Avenue had hired Roger Construction Company to install a new 1-inch service to their home. The 2-inch main in the street was tapped and the old service was cut and capped. And on August 27th, Veolia staff was called back out to Cape Cod 5 Bank for yet another leak near the property line. Away from the original spot the leak was located, after many theories and more investigation, it was discovered that there's an old line that fed from the building next door, and it first surfaced in the neighbor's parking area. The line was isolated, and the owner of the building was contacted, and the contractor was hired to make repairs. And that was awful. Sorry about all that goes.
No worries. Thank you for that. I don't have any additional stuff except for, glad to see that John is stepping up with the carbon filtration exchanges and becoming the go-to guy in that, at least on behalf of me, please tell him thank you, and glad to see guys stepping up and growing in the job.
Certainly will.
Anyone else have I have a couple questions. I was just noticing, flipping through this, that revenue was down significantly, 21% in August, received revenues versus billed revenue being up. Is that a normal sort of seasonal thing, or because I also looked like, was a 30-day accounts receivable jump from 4.3% to 6% of
Yeah. Yes, it's a seasonal thing, because, the way we read bills. That is why, especially the beginning of the fiscal year, things kind of jump around a little bit. And if you can look back over the previous years, there's no need to panic yet.
Okay.
But basically, over the coming couple of months, it will kind of like, I don't want to say bottom out, but kind of get more closer to our long-term predictions. That's why we look at cumulative numbers and not month to month, because those are sometimes really scary. Sometimes what happens too, I don't think that's the case now, is that sometimes a billing cycle gets missed for whatever reason and put in the next month. So things like that do happen.
Okay.
I don't think that's the case now. but I would not panic yet. Let's leave it alone for a couple of months, and it should kind of like mellow out and be closer to our predictions.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Hans. Any other questions from anybody? All right. Well, thank you very much, Kevin. And I hope you have a good rest of your day. Thanks for working
Thank
through
you,
the
everyone.
challenges.
Sorry about the technical difficulties.
No worries. All right. Next up, Matt.
Evening,
Capital
everybody.
project.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing all right. So just one quick update. I forgot to get it on here, but it's just a minor piece as far as labeling of who's going to be responsible for this going forward with DPW.
Yeah.
I'm going to be basically speaking on behalf of Mike and the rest of us, unless he has something pressing with one of his projects. But on the whole, Griffin basically passed off that baton to me as far as that goes. That being said, moving into our monthly CIP budget or project updates, we have our new well exploration program phase number 4, still project item number 1. And since we last spoke with you guys, still no change on this as we progress through the hurdles of that project at the moment. Hans, I'm not aware of any updates at all since we last spoke, correct? Even on the back end stuff, correct?
Same with me. I have not heard anything.
Okay. So we'll keep you guys in the loop with that one, but not much to report on the moment. Item number 2 is the pilot testing project for Mary Dunn and Airport Wells. We have gotten that updated pilot study report. I'm going to be passing that through Rob Steen, the assistant director, this upcoming week. Going to be working on getting a couple of smaller items closed out while we progress forward with our major design project, which is the Straightway project. So not much to change from when we last spoke, but hopefully we can have some movement on the project over the next month or so.
Okay.
Item number 3 is what I was just alluding to a second ago, the new Straightway water treatment facility and replacement of the Hyannisport and Simmons Pond wells. As it's been for the last couple months, this project's getting the majority of our attention. And I'm happy to report that we're quickly progressing towards our 60% design deliverable, which we're expecting to receive this upcoming Friday. So that will include an updated cost projection that we can use to help figure out how we're going to be progressing forward with the replacement well piece that we had discussed last time. The additional funding that we're going to be seeking for that. We should have a better idea of what that budget is this upcoming Friday. And then on the backside of things, we're also working through our MEPA filing review for an extended environmental notification form and an environmental impact report, or what those two acronyms stand for. And essentially, it's just the environmental and other departmentary review that's partially required for a project this size, and also the funding mechanisms that we've gone after for it to complete funding of the project. So while we're working through the 60% design, they are working through that filing. The next piece of that is going to be a public review Zoom meeting that we're working on coordinating, and you guys will see some communication in the next couple of probably the next week or two, just outlining the review process that we're required to take, which will invite the public to be able to comment, similar to the meeting that we held this past August.
Okay.
That's the majority of what we have going on with that project, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I know you guys had some budgetary pressures on that. Is that looking settled now? Are you still concerned about increasing costs on stuff? I don't know if this is more of a Hans answer.
Yeah, it's actually, Sam, it's a very good question, right to the painful spot on the body. Matt and I just discussed this, what's today? Tuesday. Yesterday. and later on you will see on the list of on the agenda item, one of the agenda items is the CIP, proposed CIP for next fiscal year 26. And basically we are right in the middle of making that decision. The original idea was to pull out the wells and do it as a separate project. And the major issue there was to solve some of our budgetary issues and to bring the large project back under cost control, under budget. Okay. Now, looking at some preliminary numbers that Matt and I did yesterday, it looks like it might not be enough, or it might be enough. We don't know till Friday or next Monday, basically. So at this moment, the honest answer is, Sam, we don't know yet.
Okay.
And we have to make a decision. So if the project comes in within the money that was allocated for it and approved by town council, we will proceed with a separate CIP for the wells for next year. Okay. If it does not look like we're going to have enough money, then we're going to need to do a supplemental appropriation, basically meaning asking town council and the board for more money. Okay. This year, because the plan is to actually go out to bid in the spring. And that means that when you go out to bid, you need to have the money in your pocket, because you can't go out to bid without having the money. Well, 99% of the cases, there's always exceptions. So if that's the case, then if we need to ask for money anyways, then it makes sense to put that to put that $3 million that we asked for the wells for next year back in and cancel that. So we're right now basically have to wait till we get an updated cost estimate, 60% from the engineers, look it over, and then make a decision internally from DPW. What are we going to do? Because what I don't want to do is both. I don't want to ask for more money this fall and more money for next fiscal year. That's just, asking too much. And it just makes us look bad. And that's not what I try to do. So, but right now I can't give you the scenario which way we're going to go yet, because I don't have enough data. I don't have the numbers. So, but the mechanism is kind of like what I just explained. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you for hopping in there, Hans.
Thank you.
And that's what I was alluding to with having that next refined cost estimate that'll help us better understand where we stand with the project moving forward, having made some of those decisions that we had discussed previously.
Okay.
Any other questions related to that? I'd be happy to answer them.
I do not.
Okay. And like I said, we'll keep you guys in the loop as far as that next public outreach meeting. We have another meeting with the DEP the MIPA department tomorrow to figure out exactly what the scheduling of that's going to be. Item number 4 would be our lead service line inventory and replacement program project. So this month we got back the results of the customer outreach survey. It was a little bit of a disappointing turnaround compared to what we had anticipated, sending out originally 1,000 mailers with the hope to end up around 600 or 700 responses. We think that there may have been some potential timeline issues as far as how much time people had for turnaround of receiving the survey brochure, and then when they would have to have it returned by for bill eligibility credits or bill credit eligibility. And then we also made the decision internally at DPW to have the pamphlets delivered to the customers' billing addresses so that they were going to the primary property owner in the event of either tenant properties or commercial properties. That also has the potential, if people have their main billing address set to their non-summer address of maybe missing them over the 2 or 3 weeks that they had available to them to respond to the survey. So we got back a response of about 56 total responses, and that was kind of a mixed bag of incomplete, being that they forgot to include like verification photos or information about the property that we had been seeking. Difficult to discern, like they used black or white photos that weren't clear and we couldn't use for verification, or outright confirmed instances of non-lead. We had a couple of people that I'm still working on following up with who think that they may have had lead service lines, but we're working with Kleinfelder and their subconsultant CDW to provide assistance to those customers on a scheduled basis to be able to follow up with any either confusion filling out the survey or potential instances of lead or where people are concerned about their service line material. Other than that, Kleinfelder's working to finish preparing the Mass DEP and EPA required deliverables for the project, which include the database identifying all service lines, both private and public sides of it, as either lead, non-lead, galvanized requiring replacement, or an unknown material, which we have a significant number more than we expected to at this point, granted the results of the survey. That being said, we're on track with getting that submitted by Mass DEP's deadline, and they provided us a draft version of the inventory over the last week or so that I'm working on reviewing this week. Be happy to answer any questions you may have.
It's rough on that response rate. It's a 5 and a 5%.
Absolutely.
So what's going to happen? So we have to go on basically check more houses now, right?
So we're not convinced that that's the case, the approach that we need to take. Similar to what I had been mentioning a moment ago, we have kind of thoughts as to why the response rates were so low. And with the fact that we need to follow up as part of EPA's guidelines, EPA and DP's guidelines, we need to follow up with homeowners that are anything other than confirmed non-lead material pipes, i.e. copper, iron, cast iron, or ductile iron, or poly pipe in the case of most of what we install nowadays. If it's unknown material, galvanized, or a lead service line, there's one of 3 different notification letters that we're going to be required to send out to the service line addresses that fall into those categories. We're almost viewing that as another opportunity to reach out to our customers, maybe incentivize it in the case of unknown, like confirmed unknown materials, and be able to still build out the inventory machine learning that we were hoping to just in the next phase of the project, rather than going the invasive route.
Okay. Well, that's good.
Okay.
Everything we do to avoid digging up lines just to check them is good.
Absolutely. I mean, especially where we've had such low instances, even on 50 response total rate, to only have 2 lines is kind of an indicator, and they're not even confirmed instances at this point in time.
That's good. It means, honestly, if there's anything, I'm happy to help out. If you got stuff in my neighborhood that you want to have checked, I will go to people directly and ask them and help them out with this, at least in Hyannisport. And so
word of mouth and community engagement are probably going to be our 2 biggest tools with that. And I mean, we're going to be rolling out a customer accessible GIS map that is going to show a little symbol on either side. It's going to almost look like a ibuprofen pill or something, where it's going to be split along 2 colors that identifies you as either known materials, those other 3 categories that I mentioned, and it'll show it for both the private side of your line and the public side of your line.
That's great.
So just being able to point people in the direction of that and having them check that, that's a helpful tool to be able to let us know that 1, they're interested in, 2, that we might be able to use them for outreach data.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? All right. So item number 5, we have our Route 28 and Yarmouth Road intersection project. Still no change from that. I mean, we're coming out of the summer months, so hopefully we'll be getting some progress on this project soon, but nothing to report at this time. Likewise, we have our Route 28 East Sewer Expansion Project and Water Main Extension. The project manager for this project is Mike. Water work is complete. Substantial completion has been accepted. DPW generated as-built are being created and processed by our GIS coordinator so that those changes are reflected to both myself, our staff, other town staff, and Veolia as far as their operations and maintenance goes. It's the major change that we have at the moment, and I'll best answer the questions that you have if you happen to have any.
I mean, great. Sounds like it's almost done.
Yeah, we're coming up to the end on that one. So
Great.
I'm excited to see that one getting close to coming off the list. Item number 7, we have our Ocean Street Water Main project that's also being headed up by Mike too. The design on this is now 100% complete. Work is to be completed as part of the sidewalk extension project contract, and construction bidding is finally set to open this past week. Actually, last Wednesday looks like when the bid period opened. So should be on the street for about a month or so, and we should have contractor selection and movement real soon.
Fantastic. I'm so glad to see this moving.
I know, if nothing else, just to have a little bit of change in pace.
I
And
thought
then
Mike was going to retire before they got this project rolling.
I thought I might too. So I'll defer to Tyler for item number 8, the Mary Dunn well building project.
Good evening, everyone. How you doing? Yes, so Mary Dunn, things are moving again. So we're in the process of processing the first pay rack that came through, $69,000 and change. That was predominantly a lot of the site clearing that went on, erosion control, and some of the upfront costs for the project that Winston Builders have. They're kind of front loading. And other news, the concern with the emergency shower and the deluge and the eye wash station for the building has been settled. Weston and Sampson is currently designing a shower with tepid water, putting in a water heater in the building. So that is in design right now. So hopefully we have a progress meeting this Thursday, we'll have a better idea of when Weston and Sampson will be done. And then what that means for us is if there are no changes to the building envelope, we can approve that portion of Winston's submittals, and then they can order the building, which will really put in place a schedule for the remainder of the project, or really the project as a whole. But that's where we sit right now. Any questions on that for the group, the board?
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you for your time, everybody. If you have any other questions, please let me know. Matt, back to you.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Tyler.
Sam. Thank you, Matt.
All right, item number 9 is our Mary Dunn 16-inch transmission main installation project. I'm happy to report that I was able to, over the past month, clear the Town of Barnstable Conservation Commission hurdle that was maybe going to be present due to the project's location, running through a couple of wetland buffer zones and rare species habitats. I reviewed the plan set that we have in final review right now with the conservation agent, Darcy Carley, and she was able to administratively approve the project work, provided that we're working within the right-of-way and things stay the same as they are shown on the plans now. So we'll be able to avoid a conservation meeting and additional work on this project that I'm ready to get closed out. That being said, we're going to work this month on getting the final review squared away through DPW management and getting the IFB set to hit the streets. And be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Any projected time for the IFB to go out?
I would say from me closing out, we're on construction level drawings at this point. From me finishing review, we're probably talking about 3 weeks or so until it's out of DPW management's hand. And it's then over to legal and the procurement office. I would say probably a month and a half or so if I'm being optimistic. But I'm going to try and get this one closed out in a much quicker manner than it has happened so far.
That's great. And it's great that Concom, we don't have to go through the full conservation.
Absolutely.
It's a big time save.
So any other questions on that one? Okay. And then last one is item number 10, Mary Dunn, tank number 1 rehabilitation. Hans and I spoke yesterday, and we've been holding off until just about right now to get the administrative approval from DPW management and getting approval to advertise the project as an IFB. So we will be working on getting that out over the next week or two, and the hope would be to have the IFB ready to be issued either the first and hopefully no later than the second week of October. But we're ready to get this one moving and ready to get a contractor selected.
Okay.
Okay. As long as you guys don't have any questions, thank you very much for your time tonight, and looking forward to seeing you next month.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Matt. And thank you, Tyler.
Thanks. Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Moving on from the capital we're doing to the capital we are planning to do. Hans, a review of capital for FY 2026.
Yes, okay. There's basically 3 projects right now. The first one is a project we do basically every year. That's the pipe replacement and upgrade program, $1.5 million. We're planning to pay for the 3rd phase of the Longview Drive area. We are going to, the DPW is going to put sewer pipe in the roads in that whole neighborhood. Most of that neighborhood has AC pipe for water mains, and the moment you start digging right next to it, especially if this AC pipe is about 50, 60 years old, it will just crack, and we're going to have a lot of breaks there. AC pipe is a material we want to get rid of anyways because it's not the best. So what we're planning to do is work together with the sewer expansion program and basically open these roads once and get it all replaced at the same time. I know this sounds very efficient and effective, but don't get used to that. Anyways, so that's basically where we're looking to spend the money for next fiscal year 26. And then after that, we're going to start putting money towards the Fern Dock area, which is basically another area right behind the main office here that is in the planning for installing sewers. Same reasoning, makes sense to do it at the same time because all those areas have a lot of AC pipe, 2-inch dead ends, all kind of interesting and wacky, pipe in the ground that really needs to be taken care of, and it makes sense to do it at the same time. But that's not till fiscal year 27. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's the first one. The second one is the $200,000 for water supply wells, pump stations, and treatment plants. And that is basically a continuous effort where we deal with, anything from new roofs, trim doors, windows on the outside to security, SCADA systems, chemical pumps, etc. Okay. We just keep on working on things. And one of the reasons why this is a good program is because what you just heard from Tyler, where the Mary Dunn 4 construction, we already submitted, the bid was already awarded. We already basically spent the money that was allocated, but now all of a sudden the building plumbing, the plumbing inspector in the town, made us put in more than we thought we needed. And to pay for all that, we would, if necessary, tap in this pot of money to be able to get the project done. You know,
Yeah.
we can argue back and forth with the plumbing inspector. Well, is it really necessary and this and that? But at the end of the day, he's the boss for plumbing, and we got to get the project done. So sometimes that's how the cookie crumbles, I guess. Okay. And then the last one, and it's the one we talked about before. I put a placeholder of $3 million to move those two wells, Simmons Pond and Hyannisport. Right now, we're kind of in a holding spot, so I'm not sure if we're going to proceed with this. And I'm also not sure how much money we're going to be talking about. But within probably 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, we'll know better, have a better idea which way we're going. Okay, and I'll just keep the board informed what we're doing and why. Okay.
Okay.
Any questions?
I've got one, Hans, and obviously I know I just looked at our budget. I think we originally were budgeting 1.7. Obviously, an additional 3 million is a bigger hit in our rate models, which we'll deal with next month for rate and fees. Is
Yeah.
more than we'd expected. I know this was the kind of the catch up year of not spending money, and obviously we have to do this. But my question is on pipe replacement at 1.5. Are we? I know we raised that from 1 million, what, 2 years ago?
Yes, from 1,005,000 to 1.5. Yes.
Do we need to go up again? I mean, are you feeling confident 1.5 is enough money to do what we need to do? I mean,
It's one of those things. It's kind of hard right now. We're in the middle of kind of a volatile bidding climate where I think we're at the end of this volatility. I think the inflationary stuff is starting to slow down a little bit. And with that also becomes the insecurity of how much contingency do you put into a cost estimate, etc. So my feeling is to keep it at 1.5 because basically we had a little bit over $1 million before, so we increased it 50%, and that's a big increase.
yeah.
I would say let's kind of keep it the same for another few years and revisit this in another 2 or 3 years. Because
Yeah.
if you give the DPW more money, they're going to spend it. That's
Yeah.
not the issue. It is more how do you balance it out? What is reasonable? And if you look at other water systems on the Cape, we are one of the only ones that have a consistent year over year. We
Yeah.
spend a certain amount of money. I think we can do a good chunk of work with that.
Can we do what we think we want to do with that? That's my real question. It's not is it 1.5 is enough to do what we plan on doing instead
I
of saying
think
let's do more.
Yeah, I think right now it's enough.
Okay.
Do I
That's
want to
good.
do more? Always, because that's
Yeah.
my personality. I would like to get
Yeah.
all pipes replaced everywhere, but the reality is we don't have personnel, we don't have the asset.
Yeah.
Yeah, because Matt is new, Tyler is new. We have a whole bunch of new people, and it takes time to get them to used to doing things the municipal way.
Yep.
And I think it's okay. Plus, our focus really right now should be, in my opinion, water quality and water production. It doesn't
Okay.
mean that you ignore improving of the distribution system, but time, energy, and effort right now really should be focused on more water and better quality water. And doesn't mean, and we'll just work with the sewer expansion program as much as we can and improve water in the same areas as they put sewer. It
Yep.
just makes sense. Now, in the nearby future, you will see some parallel requests come forward for distribution system. Just like how besides doing the pipe replacement, we asked for $3 million to do the Meriden transmission main.
Yep.
Right? And why? Because is one of our Achilles heels to solve that problem. Okay, so that's in the works now. There is a couple of other ones coming up where the sewer department wants to and needs to replace an old AC 12-inch and 16-inch forced sewer main that comes from the sewer pump station right across from Town Hall. That's right on Old Colony right there. And that runs all the way to the treatment plant from Beers Way. So they have to replace that because, they have the same issues as we have with AC pipe. A little bit less because they run low pressure. We run high pressure. So they're talking right now going through Barnstable Road, which is definitely a water main that's old, and we have fire flow deficiencies there. So if they go that route, it makes sense for us to replace the water main at the same time.
Yep.
The
Okay, so we would do that
yeah.
as a separate budget item.
Yeah, we would have to, because right now it looks like for the coming 5-6 years, our pipe replacement program money is already allocated to other things. So there's always extra stuff. And if it's really necessary, if it really makes sense, I will ask for extra money.
Okay. Sounds good.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Well, Hans, thank you. And I think this will be some good stuff to talk about with the budget meeting, first budget run next month.
Yeah.
And how that's going to impact and some other potential revenue sources coming in.
That's right.
Yep. All right. Uncollectible accounts and liens. There's Hans, you have an update on this?
Yes. And that's an update from the questions you guys brought up, rightfully so, on one of our customers, Richard Doby, on Pitchers Way. The issue there is it's still not resolved because what's happening is it has a new owner. The new owner never bothered to call us, so we never knew that there was a property exchange. He still owes us money. And to the best of our knowledge, the water was shut off. Okay. Now I've heard to people in the neighborhood that the water was on. So we went out there again, trying to resolve this issue and shut the water back off and put door tags on. And after 2 days, the door tags were gone. And, we don't know. So basically what Chris Glosson did, who is basically the Veolia office manager, he basically started doing some digging and he found out that the new owner, who also owns a bunch of other properties in town, was, of course, on vacation because it's summertime. And as soon as he basically contacted him by email, and he got an email back that as soon as they're back from vacation, they will straighten out the payment and the account information. As of last week, that hasn't happened yet, but we'll stay on it. So it's just one of those issues. Who has more patience? And eventually we'll get our money. What it just means is that I'm going to just hold off on submitting the lien list for another week or so till we got it right and this problem is resolved. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Hans. All right. Water service line material flyer. We covered, I think, that mostly already.
Yeah, so what's really disappointing, I really am surprised we had such a low response rate. I asked some people, also staff, do you think maybe $35 was not enough? And they seem to think it was enough because a lot of other towns don't do it. It's just a matter of where you send the letter, the flyer to, and timing. You know, it was summertime, vacation time, and it was a very quick turnaround. So um, I'll just do it again, I guess, as part of the second phase. We still have to comply with the regulatory deadline, but we'll get there. We'll get there. It's just one of those things that, you know, you hope for the best and sometimes it doesn't work out, and then you're just going to regroup and figure out a different way to get what you need to get. So
Hans, what is the deadline on that?
the regulatory deadline is, I think it's October 8th or October 10th. We have to do the submittal for DEP EPA. And they are basically looking for an inventory and a plan what to do about it by that deadline. And we're internally reviewing that plan now. And we are going to have to and will meet that deadline. It doesn't mean that we have all the data we would like to have, you know, because of the low response rate. So we have to follow up, which we need to do anyways as part of the process. But that's a parallel process versus the submittal for the regulatory deadline. So, okay.
Thank you.
All right. Sounds good. Well, by the time we meet again, we'll have an update on the deadline.
Yes, we will.
All right. Any other questions? All right, moving on. At-large youth board member. So a week or so ago, I met with a couple guys over at the youth commission over at the rink. They have a meeting, I believe it's actually going on right now or tonight. They're going to bring this up. They were really, really enthusiastic. Love this. Think there's actually some great partnership opportunities. So I think I'm potentially be presenting in a couple of weeks to at their next meeting about what this would involve. But overall, they seem very jazzed about it as a way to get someone involved. And I think we're kind of shifting it a little bit from like a member technically to just like an advisor. Try to get around the like legalities of a member of the board having to be a voter and stuff. And John, sorry to say, you may get roped into a little bit of presentation at DHS or something like that as part of this.
That's okay.
All right. And any questions from anyone else on the board on this? All right. Last item. So we had the open houses in the spring for town council, CIP people, but we wanted to do it in this fall for the general public. So Hans and I talked and settled on the date of Saturday, October 26th with a 9, 11, and 1 p.m. tour. The idea is we would have an open house just like we did for people can come. We advertise it a bit. And they can do the tour of the water, the Maher facility, and it's about an hour half tour. We'd have 3 groups, and if there's excessive demand, we would have to say, "Hey, sorry, we're full," and we'd have to do another one later. But if people want to show up, but I think it's a great opportunity to get people to see the system and better understand what their ratepayer dollars go to. So I'm kind of curious if anyone else. So the big thing we're thinking of just kind of logistics is if someone on tour with Hans and then someone checking people in. We'll double check with town legal that if they want us to have people sign a release to go on property, we'll have obviously hard hats and glasses. So I just want to see what people's thoughts are and if anyone else will be available to help. I can definitely be there 9, 10, and 11 and get the 1 p.m. kicked off. I unfortunately have something at about 2 or 3 that afternoon I have to head off to. But is anyone else going to be around who could potentially help, even just for like an hour or 2?
I'm tentatively going to North Carolina for a birthday party.
Nice.
But if I'm not going, I will definitely be there.
Sam,
Great. So I would definitely look for then in the afternoon. If you cannot be at the 1, I would need a second person for the 1 o'clock.
okay. Well, I can do any of those times if
Okay.
whatever we need.
I should be around to help out as well.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Amy.
Yeah.
You know, it's a great opportunity, especially if you're walking with the person walking with Hans, to get a refresher on that system and what's going on there. I'm obviously happy. I've done this tour enough times now to be the one to stand up front and check people in. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, we'll talk more at our next meeting and get this set up because that'll be right before that. So
Yep.
thank you guys for those who are able to help. And obviously, you know, Patrick, if you're off in North Carolina, have a great time and we'll just loop Tim in and make him come be our bouncer.
There you go.
Awesome. All right. So the only thing before is I just want a reminder, next meeting is October 15th, and it is in person at 6 p.m. So it's a little bit different. We had to push it back an hour to get the selectmen's conference room so we could video this and such. But it's at town hall. And do expect this, especially for you, Patrick, this is a longer meeting. This tends to be about an hour and a half to almost 2 hours because we do our first budget run. And it's as Louise has pointed out many times, it's a great time that we have good conversation, really educational stuff for the board, you know, for us as a board to better understand the finances of our system.
Yeah.
So, if
Yeah,
anyone can make
I have a piece of information on that. I did get the finance department. They're going to be there, and not Mark Milne. It's going to be because he has a CFAC meeting. Then it's going to be Garrett, the assistant finance director. He's going to present the financial report for fiscal year 24.
okay.
And the only negative thing is that Eric from New Gen wasn't sure yet if he could make it in person. It might have been he might have to tune in on Zoom.
Okay.
It's not great, but it's still okay. And then he would be we'll just figure that one out.
Well, we
But
have technology there, so we can have them
yes,
zoom in.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah. Okay.
all right.
Should we bring snacks? That's it.
Definitely bring water or, you know, put some water, some tap water in a bottle and bring it with you. But yeah, this is a longer meeting, so I just want people to be aware up front that, and especially starting at 6 at night.
There
That's
you go.
right.
Okay.
All right. So I don't have anything else. Does anyone from the board have anything else?
Real quick, are we considered in a drought now, Hans? Are
Oh, yeah.
we,
Very good question.
I have not had any information yet about that. The Massachusetts Drought Commission, or whatever they're called, they're meeting, I think, every month, and I have not heard anything yet. But if that happens, then you know, in theory, I think we need to be in a drought for, I think, 60 days or so before it sets in a trigger, and then we have to stop watering lawns and all the other stuff. But right now, it's not that I know of, and we're supposed to get rain on Thursday, Friday, right?
yeah, or Wednesday?
A little bit.
Yeah,
There's,
so,
let's see what they're calling. They're calling for, oh, it's gotten better. They're calling for, I'd say, 3/4 of an inch plus.
There we
that-
go.
Inch. Which will be really good.
yeah,
Yeah.
we need it.
The start of the recharge.
Yeah.
But then Louise, and actually all the board members, it's pretty much traditional, or it's not unusual. Most of the time, August and September are pretty dry, and yes, the groundwater levels go down. And then most of the time in the winter and the spring, we get the recharge, and you know we got a real good recharge last winter, and then you know during June, July, it starts drying up again, and it's that yearly
Cycle.
Yeah.
cycle that just happens, and some years it's better, some years it's worse. But the interesting part, and I think it's kind of the fun part of this. It's kind of biblical because it's about every 7 or 9 years that you do have a drought, and then you know 4.5, 5 years after that, you have a couple of wet years. And, it's actually amazing that something that's written 2,000 years, 3,000 years ago it's right on the point. It's
Still
still there.
Still happening. That's
Yeah.
interesting. Well, I was curious about that because as
Yeah.
you know, we haven't had any rain for a month. So
Yeah, exactly.
okay.
All right.
Well, that's it for my questions.
Okay.
Anyone else? That was a very good question, Louise. Thank you for asking that. Any other questions? All right. A motion to adjourn?
I motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.